So I'm Julian Foddy, and I'm here today because I'm giving a talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. I was the Visual Effects Supervisor on that film. I work for ILM in London. So my talk is based around specifically about the ILM London work on Solo, some of the techniques that we use and some of the challenges that we face. It is still really all about the strength of your show reel. So whether you're coming as a student or you've done a bit of time in the industry, I think the key thing is that people should always highlight their best work and their best work first on the reel, and don't be afraid to have a short show reel that really showcases just the best stuff. It's all about quality, not necessarily about quantity. So some of the things that spring to mind is hanging out of, strapped in, I hasten to say, all very safe, but hanging out of the side of helicopters with cameras, shooting still images, and I've done things like that. I've done that in Gran Canaria, in the Canary Islands, and all over Hong Kong Harbour, both in the day and night, and then in Dubai, circling around the top of the Burj Khalifa, with shooting pictures of that, and then recently again in New York for Spider-Man. And then, this is where we then get into sort of, the magic of being on set for Star Wars, that as a Star Wars fan, getting to walk out on those sort of sets. And my first experience of that was on Rogue One, which I was drafted in to help out with the reshoots. And Rogue One ties in very closely to the very original Star Wars in terms of the timeline. So the stormtroopers and the sets and the droids from that are very much as I remembered them when I was a 7-year-old boy first getting to, being introduced to Star Wars. So imagine my absolute delight walking onto set in an abandoned carpet factory in Neasden in North London, not knowing what I was going on set for or what was going to be shot. Literally walking through the double doors of this warehouse and finding that had been transformed into the Death Star. So one thing that I mentioned in my talk is that I used to be a professional DJ and record producer, and back in the early 90s I actually lived in Nottingham and was a regular user of the Confetti recording studio, which at the time was just a very small private studio. So it's totally amazing that here we are all these years later that Confetti is now this sort of great big Institute of Creative Technologies. It's grown so much and seems to be doing so much good work. So, well, congratulations on 25 years, happy birthday, and here's to the next 25 years.